how to fix page indexing, page with redirect issues, understanding URL inspection, page indexing report. So I'm creating brief short video tutorials to take you through the entire process, because many RankYa followers are using different content management systems. Meaning, even though I've created how-to tutorials, some RankYa followers are still finding the tutorials not helpful. So let's go and see. In Google Search Console, under page indexing, we have page with redirect. Here we have all submitted pages and all known pages. It's very important that we understand that we need to fix page with redirect errors for all submitted pages. Because basically, when we submit pages to Google Search Console, we're saying, here's the map of my website. And yet, some URLs are being redirected. And in the previous short video session, I've shown you what redirection means. So let's go and see the examples and the tools available in Google Search Console and understand briefly as to what these reports mean. So let's press on an example URL. Once again, I'm looking at all submitted pages. Where do these come from? They come from the sitemap that you've submitted to Search Console. If you haven't submitted a sitemap, then you should 110% do so. So then here we have we can learn more, obviously, as to what the issue is all about. Then it's saying, you know what, this is when we have detected the problem, and we have the chart here as well with date ranges. We also have some filtering options. So I won't cover them because you don't really need to. And here, when we hover over the example URL, we can copy it, we can open a new window, or we can use inspection tool, as in URL inspection tool, which is also available on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Okay, so we can press on the example URL. So what we'll do first, let's copy the URL. Next, let's take a note of the URL, the entire pattern, whether we're using www/ in the URL pattern, whether it's PHP extension, .html extension. So whatever the example, take a note of it. And then visit the actual URL to compare what happens. Since I've already fixed this, there was no redirection happening here, right? But let's go and see what else we can do. Obviously, we can press on the magnifying icon to use URL inspection tool. This tool is very helpful to fix all page indexing errors, whether it's page with redirect, blocked by robots, all this stuff, right? And here the report tells us certain information which is important to understand. First, here it says discovery. What Google is saying to you is, we have discovered the problem URL, in this example in the sitemap, and also sometimes you may see referring pages and sometimes you may not. And sometimes those referring pages may be some external website. That's irrelevant as to how Google has discovered the problem URL. All we need to do is say to ourselves, okay, you know what? Does the report tell me where did Google find that URL? So then we can actually highlight the URL that Google has discovered, the problem URL, and then take a look at it. Take a look at that web page. We can press on Ctrl U on our keyboard. Since we've copied the URL, as in we're inspecting this URL, right? So we can look at the page, press on Ctrl U on our keyboard to look at the source. That's important to do, not just on the front end, but the source code of it. Then we can use shortcut keys, press Ctrl F to find, Ctrl V to paste the URL, and then say, that URL is there. So now you can see the problem. Basically, if the problem URL is somewhere on your website, whether it's on the sitemap, whether it is within the internal linking, because it is somewhere on your website. If it's on your website, obviously you can fix it. But what if Google has found the problem URL coming from some external website? Then you need to ensure the redirection occurs properly on your website. So now let's take a look at this crawl business here, because sometimes the page fetch may show errors. I'll show you an example to see if there is one. As we can see, the crawl failed, redirect error. So you may actually see something like that. Now, if that's the case, we're looking at crawling. What does that mean? That means Google has pinged your server, and yet the server has responded with some sort of an error. Now, that report is then useful to say, it seems the server has the problem. So that means you need to log into your web server and troubleshoot the problem accordingly. Because it's to do with crawling, and if the server doesn't respond because the fetch has failed, then you know it's to do with some sort of a server setting. Then we also have indexing here. That's Google taking the web page and putting it in its database. And here it says user declared canonical. What does that mean? That means when we're looking at the problem URL, what this is saying is, you know what? That problem URL, we have found the canonical URL for it. So therefore we're indexing this and not this, because this is redirected here. So now we can go take a look at that URL, because that's how we're meant to troubleshoot. Look at the example URLs. Say, okay, this is in Google's index. That's what this is saying. What if you end up seeing Google selected canonical? What does that mean? That means, let's look at the source code of the web page by pressing on Ctrl+U on Windows keyboard, on our keyboard. Then let's find canonical. As we can see, we can declare canonical URLs. So that's user declared canonical. So that's what this is. User declared canonical is saying to you, your website is telling, because you have specifically coded that to Google, you know what, this is the canonical URL. But if you end up seeing Google selected canonical, what does that mean? That means whether you have set canonical here, there is an issue with your web page canonical settings, and thus Google has then determined, as in bypassing user declared canonical, to say, you know what, we have selected the canonical URL. When you hear the term canonical URL, think of it as originating URL. That's what that is all about, okay? So, in the upcoming short video sessions, I will then show you how to troubleshoot certain other methods. Whether it's WordPress, obviously you can use these insights, whether you're using Shopify, Wix, or different content management systems that your website is built upon. So let's continue learning, and I'll talk with you in the next video session.